Thank you all so much for joining us on this really sunny day. I did want to do it outside, but the whole ironic thing about this is that I actually suffer from chronic hay fever. So my eyes were really sore last night, so I decided that I would just set it up inside so that we can just, you know, get through it without any interruption. So hopefully my eyes, this one has started to open up, so it's all good. So during DIY, keeping your garden looking all summer. So throughout the presentation, I'm going to be showing you a little bit, telling you a little bit about who I am and a bit about my house. Also, I'm going to tell you some or show you some examples of some makeovers that I have done in my house. And then tips on how to create your perfect planter, some plant care and watering, and then some inspiration for creating your own upcycle projects and ideas. So a little bit about me. That is me on the big DIY show. So I'm just going to pause that every second and go back to the start. So many of you might know me from Women in Business. I'm usually running about with a camera. I am their videographer, so usually I'm trying to get used to wave into the camera and usually running the other way. So that is what I do during the day. So by day I am a videographer, but by night I am a DIY lover. So I just love everything about DIY, and the reason that I called it Dream DIY is because Aislinn means dream in Irish, so it means dreamer vision, so that's why it's Dream DIY, and then my business, which is Dream Media Ireland. Okay, so sorry, I'm just trying to see where I'm going. So ever since I was a little girl, I was always fascinated by doing up houses and gardening. And I was very lucky that my parents, they actually were really good. They let me wallpaper and paint and dig up patios. So my granddad and my dad were always doing stuff about the house. So I think that's where my creativity and love for DIY came from. And my granddad, his catchphrase always was, just bluff it in. So I think I've been bluffing it in for the last maybe 7 years trying to do up this house. My granddad, he's 88, he's still alive, and he's 88, and he actually gave me that wee pink hammer, if you can see it in that picture, when I was about 10. So I've kept it, it's my lucky hammer, and I use it for all my presentations. So as Clara said, I took part in the big DIY challenge. I'll just play a bit of the video behind me. So that was a dream come true. When people were watching Home and Away and Neighbours when they were younger, I was watching Changing Rooms and Ground Force and all that kind of things. So to be on a DIY show was amazing. So I done lots of different upcycled the old desk, and I got that big mural. I made a bookshelf, I restored a fireplace, I'd done lots of different things, so it was really, really good craft, and I loved it. So when it came to the time to buy my own house, I knew that it was definitely going to be a fixer-upper, that I didn't want a modern house. I love modern houses, but for me, personally, I just wanted something old that I could put my own mark on. So this is my husband, Seamus, here, and a few years back, we found our dream house, which is called Lintara. That was the name of the house when we bought it. So it's my dream house. It's not necessarily his dream house because he doesn't share his love of DIY just as much as me. Every day I go, right, what's the plan? What's the story? What are we doing tomorrow? And he's like, please, can I just go to the golf course or something like that? So, so this is our dream house. So it was an old manse. And it has lots of potential. It needs a lot of work, but one of the reasons that I fell in love with it is because of its mature gardens. So hopefully this will play. Let me see. It's buffering. No, 2 seconds. I've worked in the practice, this always happens. I'll come back to it. So basically there's lots of mature gardens right around the house, and basically the house is in the middle of the land, and all the grounds are right around it. So every kind of little area has a different story to tell. So a bit about the history of the house. So the house was built back in 1878, and the reason that I know this, it is on the deeds, but when I was restoring the front door, so you can see the front door here, there was a little piece that was missing, and it fell off, and I had actually put it on my windowsill. It was sat there for months maybe, so I finally got round to putting it on, and my dad had came around that day, and I was like, Dad, look, this piece is rotten because look, it's broken in two. So it was like, we'll make a movie piece. So we put the piece up on the wall. And then I was like, does that say something? So it actually had said Joseph Hull Lurgan, June 28, 1878. So nearly 142 years to the day, in a couple of days, that door was put on. So I done a wee bit of research, and I actually found in the 1864 town census that there was a Joseph Hull, and he had a house, an office, a yard and a garden. So that was my guy, so that was Joseph Hull. And I always like to think, I wonder what he would think that, you know, 140 odd years on, that a girl would be doing the DIY and about the house. And I actually, there was a wee bit of rot in the door, so I cut it down and fixed it. So I always find that really interesting. So another reason, I just thought I'd show you a wee bit about me, that I love the door so much is because that is where Seamus proposed to me. So he proposed on Christmas morning, and that was here, and we hadn't moved into the house yet, and I also got married from the house. So there's a few pictures. So I left the house at Higgins and came back at Higgins, so it's very special to me. So basically, the house was built by the Brownlows. So if anybody knows Lurgan, there's a big castle in the middle of Lurgan, and it is Lord and Lady Lurgan, and they own the castle. So the Brownlows own the castle. So in the deeds, they owned it. So what I have taken from a bit of the research is that they built it for the Hill Street Church, which was around the corner. So these were the ministers that lived in our house. And I just would love to know what it was like when they were here, like walking around, like, look at this dude here. He, like, that was 1874, so he was the one who got it started. And then this guy Kennedy, he moved into it. But apparently this reverend here, McClure, he was a really keen gardener. And my little neighbour, he's 94, he has told me that people used to come here to buy roses and used to sell them for the church. So I think that's really interesting, and maybe someday I might do that if I get really good at doing gardening. So every time you do something, you find a little bit about the history of the house. And actually just last week, if anyone follows my stories, I found I'm restoring the old windows. There was shutters that were they actually come up from under the ground, and they were closed over, so I re-found them and I'm trying to restore them. But underneath the windowsill there were these little cards, so I managed to get 2 sticks, get them down because it's right underneath the floor, and got them up. And they're actually little cards that used to be in cigarette packs. So I think there's 24, 27 of them. And it was actually, I don't know, some people might remember, there was a Gallagher's tobacco company in Belfast. So they put them in the wee cards and people must have collected them. So someone must have been doing a good job, and then they fell down the window, and then that was them, they were gone. So I'm going to put them in a little frame. But I just thought they were really nice to show. So that's, I mean, everything in this house, every time you do something, you find something new. So going back to the garden, so whoever designed our garden done a great job, because they really put a lot of thought into it. And this is something that maybe you should think about if you are trying to create your own mature garden, or just if it's, you know, if you already have a mature garden, things that you can add to it. So around December, so we have green fir trees all year round, so there's lots of green here all the time. But in come November, December, we have lovely holly trees. It's massive, and this year actually, for the first time, I don't know if I just never noticed them before, but we had lots of lovely red berries. Then we have the snowdrops, then we have the bluebells, then it comes into the daffodils. So every year, you know, every month you start to see different bits of colour around the garden. And so I've created this like little secret garden around here, and actually a neighbour, she posted this little sign a couple of weeks ago, so I thought I'd put that up. So then it comes into May time, and you have the lovely cherry trees. I don't know why these were working in the rehearsal, but they're not buffering now, but I'll let it play and see if it'll come up. So basically in the front lawn of the garden, and I didn't know this until we bought the house, and around May time, then this beautiful big cherry blossom tree appeared. So it's actually 4 trees, so there's 2 pink and 2 white, and they just make the most magnificent spectacle. And it's just a shame that they're only there for, you know, a couple of weeks, but it definitely is worth the wait, and you just have to go out and look at it every day when they are here, because they only last for a little bit. I don't know why these aren't going. I'll move on and come back. Oh, let me see. There, oh, is that it? Karen, Catherine, you can come on and talk if you want to. So maybe they'll come back. So then once the cherry blossom goes, then the birds all return. And this has been my new favourite pastime, is looking at the birds. So the whole of lockdown, that is all I've done. So we have lots of little finches and little robins, and there's just so many different things all year round. No, it's not working. That's a shame. So, and then the new thing is that every morning we come down, we have a grey squirrel. I know they're not the best things to have, but there's this one grey squirrel. So he eats the nettle nuts first, and then the birds start to come in. So it's like we circle of life. And now I've recently seen that we'll have a hedgehog, and he comes along at night time too. So it's really good to feed the birds. I'd really recommend getting one of these little bird hangers, bird cages. It's for small birds, so the big birds can't get into it, and they are loving it. They have been eating away every day, and I got that in Home Bargains. It was only a couple of pounds. So then once the birds return, all the garden starts to come alive, and this is the stage we're at now. The hydrangeas start to come, the rhododendrons start to come, and the roses. So this yellow rose bush, it was here, but these pink roses I bought them myself, and they've started to grow. So this little one I bought in B&M, it was only £1. So those ones that you see in the shops that are only £1, they do bloom really well, and they do mature over the years. This one I got in Tesco's, it was £10, and it was amazing. I have bought 3 of them since, and a yellow one as well, and they're really, really nice. So yeah, so as I said, whoever was designing the garden put a lot of thought into it, about the different textures, the colours, and the different scents. But although it was a really lovely mature garden, it really was overgrown as well, and I had to put so much hard work into it. It was a lot of patience, a lot of honestly a lot of muscle power. You had to get out your spade. This year during lockdown, I concentrated on a whole area, and I was taking down brambles from a tree, and it was the hardest job ever. If anyone wants to know how to take down brambles, get in touch, because I've tried every method and I finally got them done. So I really wanted to start putting my own mark on the garden, and hopefully, you know, as the years go on, I'll start to get you know, more knowledge and more expertise in exactly what I should be doing. But at the moment, I am doing a little bit of trial and error, and it's starting to work. So before I show you some different kind of ideas that you could do, I just thought I'd show you some of the makeovers that I've done so far. So this was the side of our house, and it was totally overgrown. If you can see here, we had this yellow coarse bush, I think it's called, and we had this weed which is called horsetail, and it is absolutely a disaster to get rid of. But it's so funny looking back now. Before we done this, I was like, no, don't cut them down, I love it, but like it's an absolute show, but I get attached to a lot of things, so I decided to, right, okay, we need to get rid of it. So this was kind of a few of the stages. The old window too, a lot of the windows in the house had the condensation got into them, so I had to replace the window as well, but we took them down. It was such a hard job. The actual ivy had overgrown into the garage, so the whole garage had fallen down, so it definitely was something that we needed to do. So this is now after. I'm really proud of it. It's looking really nice. So what we did first of all was we got the diggers in and we cleared out the borders, and it took forever. I was digging and pulling up roots like 100 years old they must have been there for. It was such a hard job, but we finally got it. So basically, as you can see there, the only thing left in the borders were 2 hydrangeas, this one here and that one. So I basically had to start from scratch again. So I decided to go for a kind of cottagey, country cottage kind of look, and I started adding some roses, some catmint. This catmint, I would really recommend putting it in your garden if you need to fill out a big border. That was the problem with these borders. They were so huge that it was really hard to fill them. So when I bought that, it was like in the bargain bucket in Homebase. and it looked like it was dying, and Seamus was like, why are you buying that? That looks awful. But it did come back, so don't be afraid to buy some of the plants off season if you think that if they are plants that will come back each year. Definitely invest in them. It's probably one of my favorite flowers now in the garden. Also these roses here now coming into this season, all these hydrangeas, they really do bloom. The soil is quite acidic up here, so I know people can put nails into your soil if you want to make your blooms a little bit pinker or richer. There actually was a few stable horseshoes in the soil I found there, so maybe that's why we got such bright colours. Then we planted some fruit trees as well, so there's an apple, a plum, a cherry tree and gooseberries. And they're great as well. So they were really small, maybe down there if you can see my arrow, but now they're getting more mature. And again, that is the thing with gardens, you have to have patience. So each year you will just see everything filling out and becoming bigger and better. So that was one of the things that I did. Let me see. Yeah. So then also here you can see these roses are absolutely massive now and have lots of different buds on them. So you do have to just, take your time. And these little water fountains, my parents give me them. I'm trying to find a pump. I haven't got them hooked up yet. But again, try and look for things that really keep in tune with your garden, like in your style. So everything I kind of get is oldie worldy, stuff that looks like it's been there for years. So that's how it's looking now. I still have a bit of work to do here, but it's starting to look a bit more brighter, and it's a long way from what it used to be like. And I got my new window, so I'm actually sitting in here at the moment. So this is another wee area. This was an overgrown area at the back of our house, so there's like a little cottage bit that I call it, and it was a disaster. It was totally overgrown. And I've now turned it into, it looks like this. So only last week, or the weekend there, I painted the door. It was used to be green. It was, first of all, it was brown, as you've seen, and then I upcycled it. So I actually took, we got rid of our old kitchen, and on the ceiling there was ton and groove. So I took that off and put it onto the door, bought new hinges, and my Granda, I love my Granda, me and him are very close. He gave me this little bird, so I put that on it. So I painted it a nice pink colour last week, cleared out the herb garden. I'm now planting mint and rosemary, what else? Parsley, there's tomatoes in there, peppers, there's lots of different things, and they're actually really easy to grow, especially the herbs. Mint is so easy to grow, but be very careful to grow. Be very careful, it goes everywhere. So just kind of contain it in an area. And lavender, I love lavender. I have it all over the garden. It is so nice, and actually, if you open up your windows, you can smell it if you put it underneath where one of your windows are. So that was a little upcycle there. I also uncovered this path. I don't know if I'm going on too much, but I thought I'd explain a wee bit about the house. So there was this path I found, basically this was all covered in grass, and I pulled back a bit here and seen a little stone, and then I pulled back another bit, and apparently I think it's right underneath all of this grass, but I just stopped and made a little kind of secret path. And again, every time you do something, you find a little bit of history. So these little bricks had markings on them, and it says E. Parry and Buckley, and apparently they were brickworks operating, I think it's Southampton, and they were operating from 1860 to the 1960s. So I don't know if they were the ones that supplied the brick for the house, I don't know, but I thought I would keep them exposed, and it's another little story. So then this is a little courtyard that I did, and it just shows with a little bit of TLC what you can do. And this was an old oil tank. I got rid of it and put it in my little coal shed. And then I cut down the fence. If you can see here, literally I just took off the top of the fence, and I had an old floorboard and I put it on the top and painted it. This is the garden shades. Cuprinal, I think is the name, and it's the shade Willow. And I tell you, I've tried every fence paint. It is the best. If you want to paint anything outside, definitely get the garden shades. It's really good. So yeah, so when you're doing your house, I like to think of it as an extension of your home. So I like to put different things in it, like accessories. So this was a wee upcycle that I did. I got this mirror in the range. last year, and basically all I did was I got 2 stones from the garden that I already had, and a beam that was lying in the hedges. I cut it down to size, got 2 stones that could stand up straight, and I got hard as nails glue, glued the beam to it, and then put the mirror on top. And basically then behind it, there was where you would attach it to your wall. This is a metal frame as well, so it's not going to rot. And I got 2 screws, tied it with the string and hid it behind the ivy. And now, if you can see down in the bottom one, the ivy's starting to grow around it. So it looks like it's been there forever. I really like to use mirrors around the garden. This is something I like to do. I picked these ones up in the charity shops, all 3 of them in the charity shops, with this one in the middle. I think I got it in B&M. So it's really nice to just reflect some light and add a little bit of interest in your garden. So then this is another area that I upcycled over this courtyard. It was awful looking, because the garage had fallen in. I had the whole roof had fell in, so I knocked through the window. We do use the garage as a wee dumping ground, so I put this little wooden frame on a hinge so you can move it up and you can put the stuff in it but then close it. So I did this a couple of weeks ago during lockdown, and basically it's just a bit of plywood, I cut down 4 floorboards and put them around it, and then bought the little mirror tiles on eBay. They're really cheap, really easy to do, and just put it on with hard as nails. So it just brightens up the area until I get around to actually doing the garage. So putting different things around the garden is what I love to do. This is my pink bike. Basically I got that my granddad, you think I was obsessed by him. This was in my granddad's attic, and my dad actually won it. He used to be a travel agent, and if you sold so many holidays you won things. So it was in his attic for about 30 years. So I took it down a couple of years ago and I painted it pink. So I just bought paint that is for metal, and just give it a couple of coats. It got a nice basket, and yeah, it was really simple, easy to do. I know people, my friends have done it since, and they picked up bikes in charity shops and things like that. So, you know, you probably have an old bike in your garage, so maybe that's something you can do. I like pink, but maybe you could do a cream or green, or even black as well is really nice, and gold. So yeah, that's a wee makeover there. So again, I like to use things that are ready for the wheelbarrow, or for the skip. This wheelbarrow had been in our skip. I mean, it was put in the skip, taken out, put in, taken out. I've done it so many times. Seamus kept on trying to get rid of it, but I thought that it would make a nice flower planter. So basically I took it out, and what I did was I just got some metal exterior paint, painted the base of it. I didn't mind leaving the rusty brown kind of look, because I don't want it to look too new. I drilled a few holes in the actual base of the wheelbarrow for drainage. That is key. Anything that you're doing, you have to make sure you have drainage. I put in lots of gravel, then filled it up with the soil, slow release some fertilizer, and then my plants. And it sits at the bottom of my driveway now, and it's a really nice wee feature. Lots of people always stop and say, "Oh, I love your pink wheelbarrow." So really simple, took me a day to do, and cost me basically just the plants. I had the rest of the stuff like the paint and stuff. So really easy to do.
What plants are in there, Aislinn?
Pardon?
What plants are in there?
So basically they're just a mixture of like geraniums and petunias. Petunias I really love. They're really easy to grow, little or no maintenance, and they like to hang over as well. So and then, to be honest, I think I'll have to get the name. Actually, I might have them. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I don't. Oh yeah, I do actually. Sorry. So there's a wee bit of Highlander Rose, and so the names of these are all really hard to say. So it's Bocopa, that's a little filler. So just different things. If you go to the garden centre, sometimes it's easier, you know, just look what you like the look of, and then on each of the little flowers you always have a little card, and it tells you when it blooms, when it flowers, and how to take care of it. So that's always a nice wee tip to do. So on this here one is my water fountain. I've been wanting to do this for so long. I don't know if you like them, Catherine. Do you like succulents or sempervivums or anything like that?
Yes, I'm a big fan of succulents at the moment. I think
Big
they're really
fan of
on trend
succulents.
as well. So yeah.
So I absolutely love succulents, but I wasn't sure if they would be able to grow in our climate. So I've done a wee bit of research, and basically sempervivums and sedums, they're all in the succulent family. They are a lot hardier in terms of like surviving our climate. So the main thing when you are planting those kind of plants is that they need little or no soil. So basically I filled the fountain with sand, then I got a special soil that had grit in it, so it's for those kind of plants. And then you get horticultural grit, and basically you put that all around the little plants, and they're thriving, they're doing really, really well. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to make it into like a little water fountain feature. So basically I just got solar lights and just draped them over, and I know that picture is a little bit blurry, it's hard to get it at night time, but it looks really, really nice at night time, and it's like a nice wee effect. So really simple, and you could do that with anything, you know. Solar lights are great, and they're cheap enough if if you shop in the right places, but they do last, and they're quite effective. So that's another wee feature. So again, I like to use different things about the garden, like little ornaments. Like I have loads of ornaments about the house, and sometimes they don't go in the house, so I'll go, right, you know what, that'll look good in the garden, and just add a little bit of touch, you know, your own wee touch to it. So in this one, I got like little straw, little bows and ribbons, put it on the wee angel, on the wee cherub. It was actually a wee broken cherub, and I put her back together. But and just got a wee tree trunk that I had to cut off and set her on a wee seat. So you just put them underneath trees and things, just a wee bit of interest. And then this was an old ladder that I had. It's actually in the background there for the set, and that you can hang on different plants and stuff. So just kind of, you know, play about with. I like to look at for like junk that's in the house and see how you can make it into something pretty. And this was another little upcycle that I did. It's a little wall feature. And basically it's just a branch I got in the garden. It was in the trees. I like the look of it. I got some ribbon, tied it around, and then I had a bunch of fake flowers. I don't mind putting fake flowers in the garden, because in some different areas that, you know, this is kind of a staged area, so it looks really nice. And just tied them onto the bottom, and they look lovely, so they look pretty all year round. So I only done that a few weeks ago, and they're doing really well, so I really like that. So how to care for your plants is one of the things that is the most important. So there's 3 things that I kind of just think that you should do. So number 1 is deadheading. Deadheading your plants is the most important thing. Every morning I get up, I go outside, and I take a wee walk around the garden, and I just look at the plants, so especially the hanging baskets and window boxes, and take off the little dead leaves. And basically what you're doing there is, once you take them off, then you're giving the plant the chance to grow new buds or new petals, and it just makes sure, you know, your hanging baskets last longer, and it's a really good thing to do. So just go around with a wee bucket and just deadhead everything that you see. Number 2 is to mulch. So adding a thick layer of mulch around your shrubs or your plants really helps with weeds. Weeds is one of the biggest problems I have in our garden. And as I said, I have this like horsetail, I think it's called. And basically we finally got a weed killer this year. So I put it down 10 days ago. So now I have to take them up, but it has killed them. But when you put down the mulch or some kind of bark, it does stop the weeding or your weeding time, because it stops them coming up as much. So basically, mulches are made from plant materials such as bark, needles, chippings, and you can refresh them every couple of years, and that is a big thing. But number 3 is drainage. As I said, drainage is key. This is one thing I never used to do, and now I do it in all my window boxes, all my plant pots, and it really does make the flowers bloom. They're really, really good to have good drainage. So basically people who use stones, I've seen a lot of people use plastic bottles, different things like that. Just put them in the bottom of the pot, just so that the soil has a chance to drain out, or the water has a chance to drain out, and that's really good. And then to water. Water is so important. Even if you think we have a lot of rain, you still need to water your pots and your plants. Basically, terracotta plant pots are the worst. I do use them, but they do absorb the heat. So make sure you definitely water them. And a wee tip is don't actually water the plant, water the soil, because sometimes when you water the leaves, the sun can burn them. So if it's a hot day like today, don't go out and be spraying over the leaves. Actually go into the root of the bottom of the plant and water the soil. It does a better job. So I'm going to do a little practical here. Any questions or anything so far? Or is it, Catherine, anything there you just want to go over?
No, I think we're all good for questions at the moment if you want to.
Okay, how are we in time? Am I talking too much?
I was about to ask you, I was actually about to ask about sun and shade, because for my house in particular, the sun rises at the front door and sets at the back door. So I have a porch, and I always worry trying to find something that isn't a little planter at the front that isn't going to die, because the sun disappears by about 11 a.m. So yeah. I'm excited about this next slide.
Yeah, so definitely take a wee screenshot of that. I can't pronounce half of the flowers, but so basically that's what you need to do. Kind of look where when you're buying your plants, think where is this plant going? Is it going to be in the shade or is it going to be in the sun? Some do work in both, but you know it is that it's like everything. Some people like the sun, some people don't. So plants are the same. So just make sure you have a wee read at the back of the card. So for this practical, I'm going to show you how to make a planter. It seems quite obvious, but one of the things that I like to do is you have a thriller, a filler, and a spiller. So easy to remember. So a thriller is something like here, something with a bit of height that you can look at. Then you have a filler, which fills it out, and then a spiller, which is something that comes over the top. So you have something to look at in 3 different, kind of height stages. So I'm going to pop up onto the wee sitting at our movie desk or set or whatever we're going to call it, and I'm going to stop sharing the screen. Okay, so bear with me. So. Catherine, if I get myself, how do I get myself as in the full screen? Let's see.
You go to speaker view, you'll see yourself as a full screen.
Speaker view. You're coming up, let me see. Sorry, 2 seconds, folks. So I'm at the top, so I am. So
if you at the top right, there should be a button for speaker view, but as soon as I start speaking, it'll change to me.
Oh, right, okay. So right, maybe you start speaking and then
I'll mute it now, I think.
Yeah, okay. No, it's still you. Wonder what I do. Sorry,
I can see you now here,
so I've done a speaker view and I'm just small at the top, but
yeah, you're on full screen for me here.
Emma? Okay, well, I'll just go to have to squint to myself. Okay, so I'll bring this over. Bring back the plants in case the hay fever started. Okay, so can you see me okay? Thumbs up?
All good?
Yeah, all good. Okay, so basically what I'm going to show you is this is just a little box that I picked up in Home Bargains the other day. So it's just a plain wee box. So the first thing that I would do before I start filling this with my plants is if you get a drill. So if you don't have a drill in the house, even a screwdriver and a hammer, but just make a hole in the bottom. So just make a few holes. And this is for the drainage. Okay. So basically I've just made maybe about 6 or 7 holes. And before I start putting in my plants, I will get my couple of little plastic bottles. Like before I read about the plastic bottles, I was like, that doesn't seem really natural or whatever to use something like that. But apparently it is really good, and also, it's another way of helping, reuse plastics that you aren't going to be using. So put a few bit of plastic bottles in, and then I use my gravel. So I just layer the on. I'm going to make the noise here. On the gravel. And this also helps with not having to use so much soil. So just put that in the bottom. And then I feel like I'm on Blue Peter here. And then I have some compost and also some soil. So basically, some people don't put compost into their planters, but I think you should. And also you can buy little boxes of slow releasing fertilizer. And basically what that does is it just releases the nutrients as the weeks go on, and your plants really get all that good richness from it. So I'm going to put in some of the compost first. I've actually already put in some of the feed. So I just put that in like that. Then I like to put in the soil. A bit of compost on the top. Okay, so that's the soil in it, nice and simple. So I like to start with a thriller. So this is my thriller. I actually might do two in a minute. So these are geraniums, and they are really, really nice in the summer months. I love the pink, it's a really lovely colour. A wee tip when you are doing window boxes is, or any kind of planting, don't take it out of the pot first. Put the pot in, circle it down, and it will actually give you a nice little hole which will match the size of the plant that was in the pot. So I've done that. So this is my thriller, and I'm going to put it in the side, at the back. And again, I'm going to do the same with this one. And I like to get my plants, actually, I don't know, you guys might have one near you, but there is an Action Mental Health project that's around the corner in Tannickmore Gardens. And basically, it's people with mental health issues. They go in and they look after the plants and grow the plants. So they're really cheap. So I got both these plants 50p each. So it's really, really good value. Plus you're helping a good cause. So that's win-win. So that is your thriller. Then you need your filler. So these are my fillers that I'm going to be using today, and these are petunias. I really love petunias. They are so good and easy to grow. I've never had problems with them. All I do is just deadhead them, and they just keep on growing. And actually, a few of the hanging baskets that I had from last year, I never actually took down, and now they're back. So they do return. So you're getting your money worth as well. These are actually a wee bit trailing too, so they could be both. So just maybe hold there. I'm kind of going through this quickly, so I can show you a few other things. And one more. So these will fill it out, and they will definitely multiply over the next couple of months, or weeks even. Okay. And then these are my trailers. I absolutely love them. They are Nepta, so Nepeta. You want to put that down. They are great for window boxes or any kind of planters. That and also ivy. I love to have ivy trailing over, but no joke, these will be like really, really big in another week or so, and they're a great wee filler or trailer. So I just put that in. And again, squash down. Probably better doing this outside, but as I said, I couldn't with the hay fever. So there you go. It's just a nice, wee simple way. You can see that. So a nice bit of colour, that'll fill it out in the middle. So you've got your height, you've got your filler, and then you've got your trailer, and they will literally grow over the next couple of weeks. So that is just a nice wee way of doing a simple wee plant pot. Again, that was £3 for the flowers. I had the soil, so maybe a bag of soil, a couple of pounds, and the wee box I got for £1.99. So a nice wee present. It's actually my auntie's birthday today, so I'm going to put a nice ribbon around it as well, and maybe write on some words onto the box. So that is a wee planter. Okay, so that's one thing that you can do. Let's see if I can scoot this over. Getting very technical here. So the next thing that I'm going to show you is, okay, so is a bird feeder, okay? So as I said, I love birds. Birds in the garden are the best thing that you can do. And it is really nice to hear the little birds tweeting in the morning. So I picked up these little cups and saucers. So I got these in Home Bargains. It was $2.99 for the cup and the saucer. So last night, I already glued these. So I don't know if you can see, I put one on its side so that it can hang like this.
Aislinn, if you want to turn off your slides, it might be a bigger view for people to see. Thank you.
Sorry, I was meant to do that. Yeah, okay, sorry. Okay, so this is a little cup and saucer, $2.99 from Home Bargains. It has little hummingbirds on it. So last night I glued, and the best glue that I would recommend is the Gorilla Glue. It's $4.99, but it lasts for ages, and you can use it on glass, ceramic, metal, stone, wood, foam and more. So I use this all the time. #1 glue ever. So basically you can glue it on its side, or also just like a little teacup. Okay, and what you can do is get some string, cut it off, and basically it's as easy as this. Just tie it around the little handle. Fill it with some birdseed. This birdseed is a pound stretcher. It has 79p and the birds are loving it. And you just put it in the little bird feeder, and then you can hang it either from a tree, or I got these little, called sheep hooks. They were in pound stretcher for $2.49, and you can actually hook the little bird feeder onto this and put it in your garden. It's a really nice way to feed the birds, and also it's nice and cute. So with this here, then you would need to get either, it's called a barrel knot. So if you look up on YouTube, it'll show you how to do it. That you can either hang the little teacup like this from the tree by getting your drill and putting in it, so you can get like a little tile drill bit, and you can go through it and it won't crack the saucer. Or you can just make a little sling kind of thing and tie it on and have it hanging from the tree. So that is another little way that you can brighten up your garden. Okay, Catherine, are you going to do this?
I'm going to give it a go. I think a hanging one would be best for me to avoid the toddler from wrecking everything.
I use it, like I use them all around the garden, and people use teapots as well, so it's another nice way to do it.
Yeah, I think the lights are really good for him. He gets really into the lights, the solar light. So I'm a big fan of Stacey Solomon, and I saw her do what you'd done with the water feature with a watering can. So I'm going to do that this summer for my caravan. I'm just trying to keep the weeds at bay at the minute. Yeah. So definitely a good tip for me was definitely the mulch. I've wrote it down on my to-dos now, because we're not there all the time, and to kind of keep itself to itself rather than having to think if we miss a weekend, we're not there to keep the weeds at bay. Yeah. So
weeds are killer, but with everything, like I've researched, there's nothing you can do for them, only you just have to keep on top of them and take them up. So it is. Yeah, so exactly. Another wee thing that I was going to show you just quickly, which I'm going to be making today after this webinar, is that you ever see that they're called flower hanging balls. So I think that's what they're called. So a hanging flower ball, and basically the way you do it is you get 2 hanging baskets. Okay, I'm just going to click on the next slide so you can see. So basically you get 2 hanging baskets, and you fill the first one with soil and slow releasing fertilizer. Very important for this because you are closing it, and it's going to be harder to water. So you fill it with soil, you put a little bit of cardboard across it. Do the same with the other one. Oh, sorry, is that my emails come? I don't know how to get out of that. Sorry. Technology, eh? And there's me doing the videographer and all. What was that? I get rid of that. Oh, Catherine, how to get rid?
We can still see. We can only see your slides, so don't worry. There's nothing else on the screen. It's just slightly smaller. So you're fine.
So,
We're not reading your emails.
no, it's okay, there's nothing in them, but it's just like the screen looked bad. So basically then you put a bit of cardboard in between, so when you're putting that over, then the soil's not going to come out, and you slip the cardboard out, okay? So then make sure that the chain, so like the chain would hang that way, you can wrap it around so that it's at the top, and take it off this one. So just get your pliers and take it off. And then all you need to get is a couple of little cable ties. Again, you can get these in Poundland, and just cable tie them together so that they're nice and secure. And then what I like to do is get a little marker, like a Sharpie, and just mark where you think the plant should go. And then get your Stanley knife or your scissors and cut out little holes, okay? And this is also, you can do this if you're doing hanging kind of like wall baskets that you just don't want the flowers at the top, you actually want them at the bottom. So then what you do is you get your flower, make sure you soak it. So begonias would be really good for this, or the petunias. Soak it in the water and then make the wee hole and put the actual flower into it. So if you can see there on the slide, that you put them all over it, and then in maybe a week or so it'll just be a lovely big flower ball. So this is a really interesting way to just do another take on a hanging basket. So I'm really excited to be doing that. So and nice and simple to do as well.
With that, Aislinn, so then the plants you take the wee plants out of the pots that you'd bought for the demonstration earlier. So you'd actually try and take off the soil it came with to be able to put it into the holes.
Yeah, so basically, can you see me? So basically you would end up, these are really flimsy, so you'll have a little ball, so maybe like that.
Okay.
But soak it in water so they're nice and wet, because you need to get the moisture into the ball, and then you just like kind of poke it through the little hole, and then it'll be nice and secure. So basically you just do that right around it, and then give it a good soaking with the watering can or the hose. And with the slow releasing fertilizer inside it, it'll just like give it all the nutrients over the next couple of weeks, and it'll be a nice little hanging feature. So there are some, I'm just going to move on, share my screen again. Now I'm back down, I might be able to get rid of this. Yeah, there we go, 2 seconds. Okay, so some fun, simple upcycles that you might want to do yourself. So that's my little pink bag. I moved it underneath the cherry tree there in the summer. So one of the solar projects that is a good thing to do, if you were saying there, Catherine, that you is, can you see me okay? Do I need to go up?
No, we can see half of you, but it's fine. We can see what you're working on. Perfect.
Yeah. This is all trial and error, these things. So I'm really excited to do this project. So this is an old chandelier, okay? So obviously it hangs this way. So what I'm going to do is take off this wire. So just cut it with the pliers and take it off, or some of them you can actually screw it off and take out the electrics. So the electrics are already taken out of this one. And I just picked this up in a charity shop a wee while ago. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray paint it. I don't know if to do it silver or black. And what you can do then is the little solar lights that you get in the Poundland or all those kind of shops, just get the ones that the little stick can come off it. So you're just left with this little light. And basically just use your Gorilla Glue or your super glue and glue it into place. And it'll look like a little chandelier. So if you want to paint it like silver to match the silver kind of, thing on the solar light, you can just spray paint it, or you can just mask everything and then spray paint this black, but as long as you don't interfere with the solar light. So that's a really nice way to brighten up your garden. A wee bit vintage, you could hang it from a tree, or as in that picture, you get the sheep hook and just hook it on with a little hook. So that is something I'm going to be doing this week. Nice and simple. I got that chandelier for, I think it was £3, and each of the solar lights for 75p or 79p. So really simple and cheap way of updating your garden.
I also seen that Aislinn done with a table lamp for outside, because quite often you get solar lights like string lighting, or it's stuff like you say put on stakes to go into the garden. So I had seen somebody do it with an old table lamp, where they took out the bulb and just popped in one of the solar, and then had like an open top lampshade.
Yeah, class.
That's nice.
Yeah, so that's me. So just go on Pinterest. There's so many ideas. Like definitely now the good weather hopefully is back to stay for the next wee while. I'm going to get back out and do a few more of these things. Also, as you said there, the wee watering can. Love this. Definitely going to do this. And basically, all you need to do is get the solar lights and glue them on, and that's it. And just leave it. Put it on one of the wee hooks. I've searched for ages for these little hooks, so they are in pound stretcher at the moment. As I said, £2.50 or whatever, but you can use them all around the garden, and I think it's just a really cool wee way of updating your garden. So another thing that you can do is the best thing that you can ever do for your garden is to put water into it. So hopefully I'm going to get a little pond someday or one of these days. So if you can give your birds or the bees water, that's a great thing. So these are really nice wee way to do it, and something that maybe you could do with your children or yourself as well, just if you have a few hours to spare. So basically all this is 2 pots, so 2 terracotta pots. But the top is actually the base. So sometimes if you go into the the DIY stores, the pot will be sitting on the wee base. So you basically just turn it around, use something like hard as nails, glue them together, give them a coat of paint, and just go to town on your design. So this is a really nice way to do it. And then if you add a few little stones, apparently the bees like the little stones that they can get under, and just put a little bit of water in for them. So it's a nice wee idea that you can maybe do with your kids. This is something I really, really want to do, is upcycle some old chairs and also a set of drawers. And definitely you'll be seeing this on the blog one of these days very soon. So basically, as you know, like charity shops, they have single seats all the time. I have a couple in the front of the house that are old. Basically just get the paints. Maybe you have paints from an old bedroom that you've been doing up or whatever, or the wee tester pots as well are really good to use. So just take out the chair, take out the middle bit of the chair. Sometimes you can just literally get the lining off the hanging baskets. You can put that in itself. Some people like to put in some chicken wire first, then put in the hanging baskets or the basket lining, just make sure it's nice and secure. And then again, put in your gravel, put in your soil, and then put in your plants. And again, you don't have to paint them. This one here is just lovely the way it is. And you can put these under trees, just sitting in different areas in your courtyard. I think they look really nice. I showed this to my mum. She's like, she can't put a chest of drawers in your garden. It's like, why not? I think it's a really funky way of like doing something different. And again, this is just paint it. There's nice lavender. Lavender is so easy to grow. Literally, you just put it down and you leave it, and it's like I put down lavender years ago, and it's still really, really good, and just getting bigger and thicker. As well, it's really good. And again, there's people putting on little vases and things, so you can just like update it or accessorize it the way you like. If you have back problems, sometimes it's really hard going up and down. I have the wee herb garden there, but raised beds are the whole rage these days. But this is a cool way of doing it, is just getting a table and taking off the tabletop. And I think these are little lettuces, so they're good for like if you're growing herbs or something like that. So another nice wee quirky way. And if you like your succulents, Catherine, these are just old drawers. So out of different I'm sure the person got these from the charity shop too or something, but literally it's a really nice way to display your succulents or your sempervivums. And again, as I said, they need little soil. That's the horticultural grit, and that's a nice way of just displaying them. The pallets, everyone loves a good pallet these days, so you can do it fancy like this, or you can just use it as a actual a display to display your plants. If you are doing something like this, basically if you get that black lining paper, the black lining that you would use for putting down bark or stuff like that, staple it onto the back because that will keep the soil in, so that's a good thing to do. Or if you can get the lining that you would get in the hanging baskets, you can buy them in packs that they're like sheets, you can do that too. And here is just chalk paint. You can buy chalk paint. chalkboard paint in the local paint shop, just paint it on and then you'll be able to write on it. Kids love to do that too, so another good wee idea. This is something, as I showed you, this is the little bird feeders that we just made. So you can just tie them onto a little hook like this. Also a teapot just hung that way. It's another really nice idea. I love to see old things being used. So this is, I think, like the rim of an old tractor or something. And there's just a hook on it and a hanging basket sitting in the garden. I think it looks lovely. And something fun for the kids. Again, this little lighthouse, just 3 little pots. Just put upside down, a little solar light at the top, painted. So just use your imagination. People love to put welly boots in their gardens these days. I would use this more as if you were having a party or something and you wanted it, you were doing it outside and having a garden party, something nice to be in the centre of the table. This here is just an old picture frame, again, just a hook, and that's little tin buckets. I love the tin buckets or any kind of galvanised container. They're really good for plants. They're just hard to get sometimes. I think B&M do nice metal ones that are good, but again, you can pick them up. You might have some in your garage. This is another little bird bath that you can use, and basically it's just the metal bit of the hanging basket, and you just put a bowl in it, and you can put the water in it, and that's a nice wee bird bath for the birds, quick and simple. This is something I want to try. We have the little courtyard area, but I have a little nephew who likes to come around, so I'm thinking of making him a little seat like this. And again, it's just a tire. Put the cord around it, and just with your glue gun, just get the thick cord, you get it in the DIY store, and just wrap it around and just keep on going until you get to the top and cut it. And then just make sure it's nice and glued together, and that's a really cool wee idea. I like to use old tools too, like that rake, because some people might think that's absolutely rare, but I think it's lovely. I'm not too sure about the colanders. I always get them wrong. The sieves, they're not bad. I like the silver, so something like that is also quite quirky. And again, that is a chandelier, and the chain has been turned the opposite way, and instead of putting in solar lights, they've actually made it into a little flower pot. And again, here the girls done the same, just the little pots, glued them on, and just another nice quirky way. I like that wee blue. Picture frames are great too. Just take out the back, make sure you put on the black lining. If you're going to put in moss and stuff like that, the chicken wire is really good. And then you just kind of put the moss in. You can buy bags of moss, or you can even get it in your garden, and then put the little succulents in it. And a little upcycle that I'm going to be doing next week is I have lots of old floorboards, and I'm going to make a little wooden path in one of my borders. Quick and simple, just cut it. They don't have to be made to measure or anything. Also, people that can do this with the pallets, you just take off them, make sure all the nails are out, and yeah, just put them down. Just adds a wee bit of interest in your borders. They don't all have to be flowers. Put in rocks, put in wood, and just jazz it up a little bit. So that's my presentation. Hope you've got something from it. If you have any questions or anything, I don't know.
Great.
So you can follow me on. I've just started the wee blog. I'm getting through it. It's hard going and trying to do it. But as I said, I'm a videographer. That's my real job. But I do love DIY. But if I can do it, you can do it. So just give it a go. And that's all that you need to do. Just have a wee go at it. So
great. Actually, we do actually have, there's just a couple of quick questions there. Carly, it's great. What was it? No, absolutely. Where do you get a lot of your items? And is it just charity shops, or is there another place that you can get great stuff like that? Because they're fabulous.
Like, I'm a total hoarder. Like anybody, like aunts, uncles, everyone. Like my husband's from Tralee in County Kerry. His dad phoned up 2 days ago and said, I've got this old lamp, does I want it? So I literally, everybody knows I will take everything. So I have one room in the house, like the other side of the house, that is full of stuff. So I take it from people, but mostly charity shops. Like there's so many great things, and it just really is opening your mind to seeing something that is beautiful. Like, you know, like I would see an old wheelbarrow and go, that would be a gorgeous planter, where other people would just say that's a rusty old wheelbarrow. So you just have to kind of go
use your imagination.
And Pinterest, honestly, Pinterest is the best. Just go on, Google something. If you have an old shoe, basically, do you know what I mean? Like you'll find something to do with it. So charity shops are the best. And again, friends and family, attics, you know, just kind of take And I'll take stuff, and even if I don't have an idea for it, but maybe, you know, 2 years down the line, you'll go, God, that would make a great whatever. So yeah.
So keep everything, don't throw anything out.
Don't throw anything out. It's awful.
No, that's brilliant. But no, Carly says, I cannot wait to try some of these ideas. I just want to take the rest of the day off and get stuck in. Brilliant presentation. Aislinn, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Orla said, I'm so inspired now, Aislinn, especially with all your thrifty items. Great webinar, thank you. So that's great.
Thank you.
But I think, no, absolutely. Aislinn, that has been fantastic. So many ideas. I can't wait to get started now, really. I'm going to go around, hopefully the charity shops are open now. But
no, that's the biggest thing that I've missed. It's awful.
Have you missed?
I know I've missed doing things, but again, and as you go, like as you do more things, you have more materials. So like I've loads of paint, you know, you end up, oh, I need that wee tool, or I need this, or I need that. Actually, speaking of tools, Catherine, you were saying about weeds. This little tool, it's like a little hook. I got it in, I think it was Pound Stretcher for £1, and it's been the best tool I've used for weeds ever this summer. So it's just like a little hook. It helps you hook them up better. So that's a dream DIY tip there for a tool.
Great, that's good. Thank you very much.
No, it is good to know, because I think weeds are the bane of everybody's lives in the garden. And moss is very tricky.
Yeah, I mean, so you can use moss and you can put it on your different little ideas, like that you can use to cover things, but the weeds are the killer. It's just like, you know, like I go out every week and clear the path, and then it's just like, they're back again. Why did they even try? But you just have to keep on top of it. There's no quick fix. It's just hard work.
Yeah. And you know, a lot of your plants, you were saying, you know, you get them pretty much everywhere. Is there any good garden areas or garden centres?
Yeah, well, that's what I said. So I do like get a lot from B&Q and Home Base. Like they're the two go-tos. But I have what do you call it? It's called New Horizons. So it's a mental health action project. It's in Tannickmore Gardens, if anybody's up in the Lurgan area. And I go there now mostly. They only open a couple of days a week, so you have to be, you know, just find out when they're open. But I mean, I get my whole border, and not the one with the fountain. There's another sweeping kind of border. When I first done it, I was putting in all wildflowers. It looked lovely, but it was a disaster. I couldn't keep them, you know, it just looked so untidy. So I took them all out again and put in other flowers, and they didn't last that long. So I decided to put in shrubs, and shrubs can be expensive, but I went around there and got like shrubs for £2, £3, and filled the whole border, and it's amazing now. And plus it's going to a good cause. And also if you go to like little garden centres like that, the gardener will tell you, you know, if you ask them, look, I need this or I need that, they know, so they'll help you. You know, that kind of when you kind of bring up a wee relationship, create a wee relationship as well. So
very good. Yeah, I know, and sometimes just keep it local, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And as I said, B&M, like they would have like pound roses, and like they're great. I have loads of them in the garden, and every year now they're getting bigger, and you know, they start off really small, but you know, just buy them. And then this year I am going to start trying to cut the roses and try and regrow them myself. So just do a bit of researching on that. So I'll let you know how I get on.
Bit of pruning.
Yes, a bit of pruning, doing it myself.
Fantastic. Oh, great, Aislinn. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. I think that's everybody's great. You've got really great feedback. Extremely inspiring morning there from Kelly. And lots of great feedback there, Aislinn, so that's been brilliant.
Sorry for stopping and starting for a wee bit there, but the wee videos didn't play. I played the whole time in the practice, but sure.
Always the way.
Well, lots of your videos are on your blog and your Instagram as well, so do go check I'm a little obsessed with her. I'd almost be like stalking her. I watch all of her videos and get lots of inspo from her, from her house right into the garden. So please do follow her and say hi next time you see her at one of our business events whenever we're back seeing everyone.
Absolutely.
I'll forget what to do with the camera at this stage, so but no, I really enjoy. But just give it a go. Like, and that's the best thing about the junk, as you say. Like, it doesn't cost that much. So if you make a mess of it, you're not out a fortune. You know, just have a go. And sometimes you never know, and you might create something really nice.
Absolutely. No, thank you. Just totally been inspired today, Aislinn. So thank you on behalf of Women in Business. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks again.
Bye.
Take care, everyone.